taking this classic Porsche 944 Turbo and giving it a well-deserved power boost. Thor and I has developed a foolproof adapter kit for these cars, and in this video I'll show you how to mount it, what kind of tools you need, and how to add the software into the ECU. And of course we'll take it for a spin, both with the base tune and with an extra 100 horsepower. Okay, let's see what happens. But first, let's take a closer look at this adapter kit. When potential customers ask me how this adapter kit works, I always explain it like this. Let's say that you have an iPhone, but you only have a Samsung charger. Then you need some kind of adapter in between for it to fit, right? And this adapter kit works in just the same way. But instead of a phone and a charger, you'll have an old Porsche engine and a brand new top-of-the-line ECU. So let's take a closer look on how everything looks when you get this in the mail.
So this is what you get if you buy MaxxECU Street Kit for Porsche 944 Turbo. Basically everything you need to make your Porsche with standalone. What you get is some stickers from MaxxECU, the stock wiring diagram. This won't be needed. Basic quick start guide and installation, what you need to do to install it. And you have MaxxECU Street or Sport or Race. This kit works for all of them. Same harness but different ECUs if you want more functionality. And then you get the plug and play harness. We'll get back to this. You get wideband sensor, and depending on what you order you get different wiring for the coils, etc. And then you have intake air temp sensor, and this is for the stock ignition coil if you want to run the stock ignition coil. So this plugs in here and the temp sensor plugs in here. We'll show you later. And USB cable and some hoses.
So here is the Porsche that we will connect the ECU to today. As you can see, a Porsche 944 Turbo from 1986. Standard engine, standard internals and everything.
Only modification is that the MUF sensor has been removed.
Yes.
You don't need to do that, but it's a restriction, so if you remove it you get some more power.
So here we have the instructions that follows along with the kit, and we will follow these steps just step by step in this video. So first up is to remove the old ECUs.
Yep, they are located down here, behind this. And this part is usually bolted down, I think, but somebody has already been messing around with this car, I think. So remove this stuff, usually 4 bolts, and I think there's supposed to be a metal bracket here also. So just remove everything, and so you get to the ECUs and take them out. These are loose. Not normally like this, but that's okay. Just remove the ECUs. This is the fuel ECU, and this is what Porsche call the KLR, I think, knock and boost control or whatever it is. Remove that too.
Yeah. And usually it is some kinds of screws here, but it's not like any special tools and anything. It's just
standard tools.
Standard tools, yes.
Yeah, Phillips heads, I think. This, and this is the map sensor hose. We will use that later, so just connect that. It's usually pretty stuck. Try not to break it.
Yeah, old plastic or old rubber.
And if you want to just remove this, put it back here. If you want to remove the ECU later and put everything stock back, you can. You will never change anything in this car with this kit. So this, don't throw them away, they might be valuable.
So the next step here is to remove the muff if you want to, because we are not going to use it anymore. And as we said earlier, this is already removed on this car here.
Yep. So just make some kind of adapter if you want to remove it, to make the filter house or even an open filter. I don't recommend that. Better to have an adapter there.
Yep.
So this doesn't need to be used anymore.
Step number 3 here is to mount the EAT sensor in intake or in a charge pipe.
And on this Porsche, I don't know if it's same on all models, but here was a very nice place to mount it. So I just drilled, and it's 1/8 inch NPT. So this is the best place, I think, to mount it. But you can also mount it in the charge pipe, anywhere actually. As long as it's between the intercooler and the intake. You can mount it here also if you want. But I like this place. Also, when you drill and tap here, you don't have to remove the intake. You can just put some pressured air in some kind of hose, some vacuum hose, to make the air come this way. So the, what do you call it?
The small bits and pieces from the drill
doesn't go inside the intake.
So then we take a look here again, and now it's time to install the MaxxECU and EV ignition coils, if that is something that you have bought to the kit.
Yep, this kit doesn't have any extras. You only have this little wire.
Yeah, the ignition coils is more like if you need more power in the future or more boost.
Yeah, and if you want to get rid of the distributor.
Yep.
So this is the USB. This is everything that comes extra in this kit. That's one for the intake temp sensor, which we just mounted. That will just go up through the firewall and out in the engine bay. This is just the amplifier ignition driver. So this just goes in here. And this goes in the other harness. In here. And then you have two connectors. One for the big ECU, one for the small. And this can only fit in one way. Fits this way. Don't press down on the actual wires. Try to press in the ends. Like this. And if you're worried it's gonna come loose, you can put a zip tie over here.
Yep.
But I don't think it's gonna come loose. It's very snug in there. And then you take the other one. You match it up. It goes this way. And depending on what extras you bought, there will be a few more wires here. And that's it. And then you have the MaxxECU. Match up the white marks. Click it in. And that's about it. And then you need the vacuum hose. We just use the vacuum hose from MaxxECU and a small silicone rubber hose and push it over here. And if you're worried, you might want to super glue this, or put a zip tie on it, but I don't think it will come loose.
No.
It's not that much boost. And then this goes in here. And then just try to cram everything back in there. And we will do this, I think, with some Velcro. So I will get that.
Yep. Now the ECU is mounted with some Velcro. Make sure to turn the box around so that the boost line here is facing downwards, just in case if some water should come down here, so it doesn't come into the box there. Also make sure that this boost line here is not squeezed anywhere. Next step, according to the installation guide here, is number 5, to install the wideband sensor.
The problem with these Porsches are that the stock sensor is mounted in the exhaust pipe before the turbo. That makes it so there's a lot of back pressure on the sensor. You can't mount the aftermarket sensor on that location because of that. It doesn't like back pressure. So you need one of these. You need to weld this in the exhaust after the turbo. And we can show you, this is done on this car already.
So I would say that this is the biggest step
Yes.
on this conversion.
This needs to be done before you do this conversion. So the
And
old
you see the new wideband sensor up there.
This is a new sensor, and this is basically just one of these bungs welded in there. So you need to make sure it's after the turbo, all the way. You can put it anywhere. And this sensor, this wire is so long, it goes up into the engine room and into the firewall. Or you can cut the hole in the floor if you want. Most people, I think, don't want to do that. So this is long enough to route on the outside.
Let's check the next steps on the installation guide. Number 7, install new wires for boost or waste fire. This is not relevant on this car here. Number 9, use OEM coil. Not relevant here either. Mount and install any additional sensors. Not relevant either on this kit here. So now it's time for number 10 to connect the intake air temp and the wideband sensor.
Yep, and the best place to do that is through this firewall, what do you call it? Rubber thingy. And you have to pull it out and then cut it up with a knife or scissors in the bottom. And this is actually the new lambda wire sensor wire. And it's get the connector through, then push it up, makes it a nice fit. And the cable to the intake temp sensor needs to come out this way also.
Here we have the temp sensor cable for the intake, and that we will put up here to get out into the engine bay. And this is the connector for the wideband lambda.
So now the lambda connector is, or the lambda sensor wire is pushed in, and the intake cable is pushed out. Not very fun job to do, but it can be done. If it's hard to get the rubber thingy back, use some silicone spray or something. Then we just route this in some nice place here, depending on where you put the intake sensor. But I will push it here, I think, to make it look nice. And just connect it here. And to make it look a little bit more OEM, just try to hide the cables as good as you can, like that. Then we have the wideband connector, and the connector is hopefully up here somewhere in the middle. So let's see if we can connect it. And the wire is just barely long enough, but it will fit. Yep, there it goes. And then we just have the USB cable for the laptop, and it goes in here like that. Now it should start, hopefully.
Next step here in the installation is to download the M-Tune. That's the tuning program on the PC.
Next step, turn on the ignition, watch the rev counter. If it does that, that means it's working. Then open up the software. Yes. Update MaxxECU. If you don't get connection right away, try to unplug the USB and put it back in, and try to cycle the ignition again. Update. This might not be needed if it's a new ECU. And done. Close this. And now you see everything seems to be working. Might be some errors detected. Don't mind that yet. Just go here to open tune file. Then find your base tune. I have it here. So I'll open this. And you can go in here for fuel and then fuel general to make sure that the injectors are correct. It will say 300 here for stock injectors. And if you have changed injectors, just change this. Don't change this, the other settings, because it won't start then. And then you need to go to inputs and sensors. This is the TPS calibration. And basically you just push this, close TPS voltage, push this once. Don't mind this because this car has a special TPS. You won't get this. Then you put the pedal to the floor and you press it once again. And don't mind that. And now you can see the TPS is working. So next thing is to see that everything is okay. Map should be around 100, TPS 0, coolant temp normal, intake air temp normal, and voltage normal. Next step is to try and start it and see what happens. Seems good. Now we wait for lambda to come online. Yep. And now it's on warm up. Now it's time to test drive it.
So time for a test drive?
Yep. And I think this car has slightly high boost. I think it's around 0.7 bar, I think. I don't know what the boost is stock. I think it's like 0.4 maybe.
You can also keep an eye here on the lambda value. You want it to be roughly around 1.0
on cruise.
And on cruise, yes, and then go down to maybe 0.8 on full power.
Yes, depending on how much boost you run on it. And this tune file is for the bigger injector, so this should go pretty good, I think. Yeah. Pretty decent.
Yeah, pretty decent.
Much more power than stock, at least.
Yep.
As you can see, it drives like a normal Porsche. And this is just a base tune. You can make it even better if you want to. Pretty quick to 100.
Yeah.
And how much boost is it? Let's see.
Let's see the boost. Over here.
Yep.
Uh, 170 kPa, that's 0.7 boost.
With this MAF system, they're not very responsive. This.
I mean, it's from 86, so
yep.
Things has gotten better.
Yes. Should we try the bigger tune with 300 wheel horsepower?
Yeah, I think so.
This is a nice feature of MaxxECU. If you just want to load a part of another tune, you just right-click and you open only this. What do you call it? This branch.
This
from the
page,
tree.
or
Yep.
Yep.
And I have this down here, the big one. Yes, and we have 1.1 bar actually. That's as much boost as we could get from this small stock turbo, and it actually made exactly 300 wheel horsepower. So 340 in the engine, I think.
Okay, so now we have raised the bar with roughly 50% from 0.7 to 1.1.
Yeah, so 100 horsepower over stock. With the stock stuff, the only thing that's changed is the injectors.
The injectors and also a larger downpipe, right? But I don't think it's a big exhaust on it.
No, I don't think so. It's very quiet. So a little bit larger downpipe.
Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, so that's it. Now we have a new ECU in the car with a quick adapter kit.
Yep.
And also a bigger tune in it.
Yeah, and if you put bigger injectors, the bigger intercooler, and the harder wastegate, you can get even more. Like at least 1.4. I think we used to tune this to 340, 350 wheel horsepowers on the stock turbo.
Yeah.
Then it starts to get very warm. And if you go to E85, you can push it a little bit further. And this is actually on 95 octane. So this is this is not very hard to.
Okay, so let's end with a full pull here into the sunset.
Yes.